You done?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs for their support of the podcast. Wall of Fame is on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. You can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards not only raise money for your department, they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, the trusted leader in digital ticketing. Hometown helps thousands of schools and organizations across the country seamlessly provide convenient digital ticketing options for their communities, their families, and their fans. Go to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts about how to create a great ticketing experience for your fans. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to Final Forms. Final Forms is the industry leader in registration, but they're more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility. They have reminders for parents about policies and physicals and all the forms that go with athletics. Final Forms can also help with team communication, with risk management and attendance, and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. You know, it's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you and your program, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to gipper.com and start creating world-class marketing content. Athletic directors, teams, and coaches are using Gipper to create content for their school's social media channels in seconds. They can use any device and they don't need any design experience. As I like to say, it's so simple, even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com and start creating world-class content for your school's social media channels. We also want to say thanks to Huddle for their support. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their athletes play better using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete performance platform. They have online tools, they have smart cameras, they've always had analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle is also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and colleges, and even the pros use Huddle to help their athletes perform at the highest levels. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including the coaches, the college teams you're trying to get to recruit your kids. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to say thanks to SnapRaise. Go to snapraise.com and see how better fundraising can make a better program. SnapRaise has no upfront cost. It's secure. You can monitor the progress, and best of all, it works. Choosing the best fundraiser for your school and your group is critical, and the SnapRaise fundraising difference is a winner. Our coaches have used SnapRaise for years. And you can also go to the snapraise.com website and see the thousands and thousands of dollars that other schools have raised using their platform. Change your fundraising game plan and start a fundraiser that works for you. Go to snapraise.com for more information. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. We use surveys for years at our school for just about everything, coaches, parents, and kids. And the information that comes back is almost always overwhelmingly positive. But the surveys also help identify that squeaky wheel parent that gives them an opportunity to vent, also gives you a chance to see if there's a small problem and maybe address it before it turns into a big problem that you didn't know about because you didn't do the survey. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Alabama for just the second time in the history of our podcast. And our guest today is Albert Weeden Jr. Albert's a certified master athletic administrator. He's also the principal and the athletic director at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. Albert Weeden, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jake. I'm looking forward to this opportunity to share with you all today.
Well, again, we're excited to go back to Alabama for the second time. And
Yeah.
I'm excited. We'll get into this. Obviously, being an AD is challenging enough. You know, wearing that principal's hat and the AD, I'll bet the athletic director doesn't have budget issues with his principal at your school. Okay, but we'll talk about that later.
Definitely.
We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, maybe take, 3 minutes to squeeze in your whole life, but only take us up to the college years. And then we'll take a break. We'll come back and hear about, the actual career, but where was Albert Weeden from? Where did he grow up at?
Well, hey, I'm from LA. So most folks think about what, Los Angeles? No, I'm from LA.
I know what LA stands for. Yeah. Okay. Lower Alabama.
Lower Alabama, man. Right here in the southeast. I'm from Andalusia, Alabama. Went to Andalusia High School. Grew up here all my life. High school all the way through college. But just so folks will know, Andalusia High School is where Robert Horry went to high school.
Okay.
Famous basketball player. Went to Alabama, played college basketball. And played in the NBA and won maybe I think about 6 or 7 championships.
I was going to say he had great timing to be on some championship teams.
Yeah,
and he was a heck of a player too. No, yeah.
Yeah, Big Shot Bob is what they call him, with the Rockets, the Lakers, the Spurs. So, but that's my hometown. I love it. Did a lot of fishing growing up. Played a lot of sports. Believe it or not, I was playing basketball, football, baseball. Even tried my hand in tennis. Believe it or not, back then. So ended up getting a basketball scholarship to Troy State University. Before then, though, I won a state championship, the only state champion. So I'm going to toot my own horn here at Andalusia High School, 5A state champion, MVP of the state. So I was blessed enough to use basketball as a stepping stone, to work my way up through athletics. Got me a scholarship. I also got an academic scholarship to attend Troy State University. The only school I wanted to go to. My mom went to Troy. All my family members went to Troy. So it was, it was only like 40 minutes from my hometown. So it was like I was going to Troy no matter what. So I went there, played college basketball, played for a guy named Don Maestri and Coach Jeff Felix. If you know a little bit about Troy, we have the nation's scoring record. We beat DeVry University. I wasn't on that team. Like 263, maybe to 150 or something. So that's what Troy State was known for. I guess running that scoreboard up back then. When I was there in college, I actually wanted to major in sports medicine. I wanted to be a sports medicine doctor when I got to campus. But when I first got there, I guess the person over the sports medicine program told me that, hey, you're an athlete, it's going to be impossible for you to do all the clinicals and all these different things. And somehow they talked me out of it. That's what I wanted to do. They can't do that right now during these times, but back then they talked me out of it. And that's how I ended up going into physical education and into coaching. Got my college degree. Got my master's while I was in college and playing college basketball. Got my first job as a basketball coach and quarterback coach in Eufaula High School in Eufaula, Alabama, which is right there on Lake Eufaula. And also a little bit about myself. I'm a self-proclaimed bass master too, Jake. I can do a little fishing. So hopefully when I see you again, maybe we can do some fishing up that way in Orlando or down that way in Orlando.
Well, we live in what they call the Triangle Lake area,
Okay.
Lake Eustis, Lake Dora. And I just, my wife and I, we just bought a pontoon boat last week. So
All right.
I'm not a big fan of fishing, but I love catching. So
Yes. There's a
if you,
difference.
yeah, if you come down, maybe you can I'll take you out. You can take me catching. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's catch a couple of big bass down there in Florida.
Absolutely. I love that. For our listeners, our guest today is Albert Weeden Jr. He's a certified master athletic administrator, principal and athletic director at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges, and they help thousands of schools and organizations across the country seamlessly provide convenient digital ticketing to their families, to their fans, and to their supporters. Go to hometownticketing.com and talk to their team and see all the digital ticketing types and different types of events. It's not just for athletics, it's performing arts, it's dances, it's graduation. Go to hometownticketing.com and see how they can help you and your school. That's hometownticketing.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're visiting today with Albert Weeden Jr., certified master athletic administrator, and he's the athletic director and the principal, at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. You took us up to that, I think that very first job, teaching and coaching. Take us into those next steps of your career when you became an AD, and I'm curious about that whole principal thing.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Well, my first teaching job, like I said, was at Eufaula High School. I was fortunate enough to work for someone that saw me play in high school and basketball, and I guess coached against me in basketball at Eufaula, and they gave me my first position. But I wanted to be a head basketball coach. That's what I wanted to do. So I got a job in Shaw High School in Columbus, Georgia. James Wilson, who was a basketball coach at Eufaula High School, that I beat in the regional playoffs, and he remembered me, and he said, "Hey, you want to move to Columbus, Georgia, and be a head basketball coach?" And man, that was the highlight of my career right there, being able to go and work for a guy named Charles Flowers, who is just like an icon of sports. The only coach I know that win the state championship in football and the state championship in baseball is the head coach in the same year. And that was pretty impressive, for him to do that. So I learned a lot of things, from him. It just it's been a mentor from him about athletics, how to deal with parents, how to deal with students, students that come from a higher echelon of and the students that come from lower echelon of life. So I got a lot of information from him when I was at Shaw High School, and but it wasn't good enough for me at that point. So I wanted to move to Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where the mecca of high school basketball was at that time, at least in my eyes. Hearing about all the legendary coaches like Carter G. Wilson, who's from Georgia. He probably been on this podcast before too, but just being able to hear about some of their stories and see some of their games and how they had the gyms packed. So I wanted to move to Atlanta. So I got the opportunity to work for Fulton County Schools as a teacher and basketball coach. And that's when I started doing some AD work as an assistant athletic director in Fulton County Schools at Tri-Cities High School. And everything went well, and I got a chance to build relationships with so many different people in the coaching profession. Now I'm doing it on the athletic director profession, so it brought out a different light for me, just dealing with students only on the high school level. Now I'm getting information from my cohorts, because we learn from each other. That's the best wealth of information, is being on these podcasts and listening to what people have to say and listen to their values and things that they take to dear to their heart, and trying to use that passion to guide the decisions that we make every day as athletic directors. So as I was just moving on in my path as coach and teacher, got a little bit of athletic director's experience as an assistant. my hometown, well, not my hometown, but my home state come and call. It's like, hey, we hear about a great job you've been doing in Georgia, and in Columbus and Atlanta. We want you to move back closer to home to Enterprise High School. So I left Atlanta, the mecca of all sports to me in my eyes at that point, to Enterprise High School, and started coaching more basketball, winning, but that still wasn't really the passion that I really wanted to do. So that's how I ended up getting into athletic administration and an assistant principal. I moved to Auburn, Alabama, and got a job for Lee County Schools working as an assistant principal and athletic director, which at that time, like, oh, you're an athletic director and an administrator? You know, that wasn't really the realm here in Alabama. You either was the head football coach and athletic director, and that was it. So I kind of opened up that Pandora's box, if you will, I guess back in 2011 here in this county as far as athletic directors being administrators. From that point on, I started interviewing for principal positions, Jake, and Loachapoka High School opened up, got a position as the principal. And I can remember this day in the interview, I talked to the superintendent and told him, I said, hey, you know, what about me being the athletic director? And he was like, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm the athletic director now at the middle school and as assistant principal. I said that it gives me a more realm to open up more relationships with staff,
Right.
students, and I have a more meaningful impact, you know, coming from an administrator. And he was like, hey, be careful what you wish for. That's what he told me. And long story short, you know, I've been the athletic director and principal here at Loachapoka High School for the past, going on my 6 years, the principal and athletic director. And I did a presentation at Alabama High School last week at our summer conference of juggling dual roles as the principal and the athletic director, which is pretty awesome for, you know, for me when I went through it down there at that conference last week, because it can be done. And the bottom line, you're trying to impact students, and that's the ultimate way to be able to impact the students and the teachers and the coaches, you know, all at the same time. And also the impact of the community, which is the umbrella, you know, over the student to move students, whether it's athletics or student achievement in life.
Yeah, well, I really wish I would have been in that presentation. You know, obviously we all know about, as athletic directors, you know, you've got the kids, you've got the parents, you know, the teachers there because they're student athletes, and just working with that dynamic. And then principals obviously have a much more global vision. You know, the AD, you know, we're just worried about athletics.
Wow.
You know, the principal's got everything else. Boy, you're making the rest of us look bad by doing such a great job with that. Do you see a time where you might let go of one of those? Obviously, as you said, it gets you connected with all of those constituents. But do you ever see a time where, you know, you might hand the torch to someone else?
Yes, I do. I see that time coming, you know, very soon, actually. But at the same time, even when I give that torch to someone else, and we all know it's principals and those APs know, you can ask, who is it? Rich Barton, he was an assistant principal and an athletic director. You can ask him, that hat would never go off. You know, if you're the principal of that school, you're going to be at the athletic event. If the athletic director can't handle this situation, who are they going to be talking to? The
Yeah.
principal. So you're still going to be in that realm no matter what, you know. So, but I do see a time where, all right, that due to be released to someone full time. But I'm lucky because I have 2 assistant ADs, so that helps things go a lot smoother for myself.
Oh no, absolutely. Okay. I wasn't even a principal and I had an assistant AD. So for our listeners, our guest is Albert Weeden Jr. He's a certified master athletic administrator. He's the principal and the AD at Loachapoka High School in Alabama. He's also a member of Nomad's board of directors. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're going to take a break right now. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Final Forms for their support of the podcast. Final Forms is the industry leader in registration, but they're more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with mobile accessibility. They've got reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come with athletics. For coaches, Final Forms can help with communication, with attendance, and even help coaches get their certification taken care of. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation. It's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started on the Final Forms team. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Again, our guest is Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator. Albert, as I mentioned, we get a lot of younger ADs that listen to the podcast, and I think it's important for them to hear about the journey that you and I have both been on with the NIAAA. So share a little bit. When did you first find out about your state association and LTI courses? Take us through that journey.
Well, it started back when I first moved back to Alabama. I knew we had a conference, but wasn't, really familiar with it other than when I was playing high school basketball. I made Alabama All-Star team versus Mississippi. So I know a little bit about there was a conference and the different activities. Here in Alabama, I think we do it just as good or better than anybody as far as doing conferences. We do a fall conference where you can come up a little bit smaller, where you can, get information about cheerleading, all of the fall sports is going on, a little bit about wrestling, the winter basketball sports clinics. But the main conference we do here in Alabama is the spring conference, which is mandatory for principals and ADs. And the summer conference that we do, that's mandatory again for all principal and ADs and for head coaches. I'm very fortunate to be the principal, so I make sure that all of my staff members go, whether they're a head coach or an assistant coach. We're all about lifelong learning and professional growth. And the Alabama High School Athletic Association provides the best conferences where you can take LTC classes. You can hear different speakers. We had Auburn football coaches and Auburn basketball coaches this past week here at the Alabama High School Conference. So you got an opportunity to hear from college coaches, sports specific, whether it was wrestling, baseball, whatever sport it was. You got an opportunity to get the professional development from the medical doctors and advisors at Alabama, Auburn, all throughout the country, talking about concussions and, even legal issues. We take that class LTC, legal issues, but you get to hear it firsthand by lawyers. You know what I mean? Like, it get real then. So those coaches need to hear that. Getting involved in that professional development, which is the best, I would say, all across the country. That led me, just doing those little conferences led me to the NIAAA, which I had, without a doubt, by far, the NIAAA has the best athletic, conference for athletic directors in the world. Then nothing gets better than a national conference. So by teaching those courses, it gave me the insight on, lifelong learning, want to get better in my profession. And I wanted to trickle that down to my coaches, getting them involved in our summer conference, our spring conferences, to better themselves, because they're better at what they do. That is going to make me look good. It's going to ultimately, though, deal with the educational based athletic with our kids and making sure they're doing the right thing, so they can become productive citizens, make a contribution to our society. So I think it's very important that, all coaches go to that professional development, on that high school level, as high school and middle school ADs also. We do middle school conferences at the same time, where you get, information from all the principals and athletic directors across the state come in and do workshops for new ADs. We have a workshop called New Athletic Directors. So it's very important that they get that, professional development if they're trying to be better in what they're trying to do. And that's what we're trying to do, move forward and with growth. So, I've come a long ways as far as playing in high school and going to that conference as a player. Now as a coach and principal and an AD, still getting that professional development, because you learn something new every year for those conferences.
Oh, no, absolutely. I appreciate you giving the shout out too. Two things, you mentioned you have a new ADs workshop. Yes. If you would like to get some free copies of our books, the Athletic Director's Toolbox, to give to those new ADs, let me know. Be happy to send them out to you for free.
Definitely. That'd be awesome.
Also, the CMAA, I was on the certification committee for a number of years. And it seems no matter how hard we try to let people know that the CMAA project will help you with it, it's not a foreboding type of thing. Right. We still hear that a lot. What was your project, just briefly, and how, I'll put it this way, how easy was it to do?
In my mind, I thought it was going to be easy, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But it was not easy because of all the hoops I had to jump through, not dealing with the NIAAA, but I started volleyball at my middle school and I started soccer at my middle school. So I had to go through a lot of different things, just from the budget to, going out and make sure I had the right lobbying for the right people to make sure, hey, just push hard for the women, for the girls. They need something, they need something to do in the fall. It's football going on here in Alabama. And of course we had high school volleyball, but the middle school program, didn't have volleyball. So I wanted to implement volleyball. So now we have a feeder program. So there's a lot of things we had to do. And I also wanted to implement soccer in the spring. So I brought all those things that I implemented at my school. So it took me a year or two to get that thing, all it rolling off the ground, to get it sanctioned. We had to start out first as I guess, an intramural squad, and then we end up, joining, I guess, with the association to become a full-fledged, team at the middle school level. So I thought it was going to be easy, and it turned out to be a hard project, but it was well worth it.
Well, the project, of course, was consuming, and it took a long time.
Yeah.
But the actual recording and documenting and sharing that in your project,
Yes.
that was a lot more fun.
Tell me about it.
Okay. For our listeners, our guest today is Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator, Principal and Athletic Director at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. We're going to take another break, but we will be back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Snap Raise. Go to snapraise.com and find out how better fundraising makes better programs. Get away from the fundraising headaches of the past. SnapRaise has no upfront cost. The data is secure. You can track progress very easily. And what's best, it works. Our coaches used SnapRaise and it was just fantastic. Choosing the best fundraiser for you and your group is critical, and the SnapRaise digital difference will be a winner for you and your school. Go to snapraise.com and check out the thousands and thousands of dollars that they have helped schools, athletic teams, and coaches raise for their programs. That's snapraise.com. Change your fundraising game plan and start a fundraiser that works for you. Go to snapraise.com for more information. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Albert, we always like to have our guests have an opportunity to acknowledge the mentors that they've had in their life. None of us get here on our own. So who are some of the people that have helped you along the way?
Sure. I think my biggest one, I start with the biggest mentor, was my high school driver's ed teacher / basketball coach, AD. He did it all. A guy named Coach Richard Robertson, Hall of Fame coach here in Alabama High School Athletic Association. And he also coached and taught my mom too. So, and everybody else in Andalusia, Alabama. He was the only driver's ed teacher. So everybody from 1970 on all the way through, I guess he just retired in 2000, probably 14, knew Coach Richard Robertson. But he was my mentor. I learned a lot from him, and just when I was a teenager in high school, and I never forget it. He used to tell us all the time, you kids, you're a victim of your environment. You've never been nowhere, you haven't seen anything. And I know it sticks with me everywhere I go. Like, man, I'm gonna go somewhere, I'm gonna do something. And before every practice, whether it was football practice or a basketball practice or whatever sport it was, because he also was the head football coach too, by the way, he would always sit down and talk to the team first before they even started practice. He had some guys going to sleep, because he would talk for 30 minutes to an hour before practice, even got started. I never forget all the conversations that he had, with all his players, and about life and being better citizens, and being a productive citizen to society. What can you do to make sure that you are better and you're going to do something for your family? Don't make your family look bad. There's all those different conversations that kind of, boiled in with. At that time, as a 16, 17-year-old, like, all right, whatever, coach, we're going to do whatever you tell us to do. Let's get to practice. But you just remember those things as you get older. and you get to reflect on all the things that he was really telling us about in like life, government, economics. Just he would always go by a newspaper. I don't know if anybody still reads the newspaper, but he was one to go by all 4 editions of the newspaper, like the Andalusia Star News, the Birmingham Post Herald, Dothan Eagle, Montgomery Advertiser, just read the news and always telling them about stories and giving us examples of, hey, this is what so and so did. Don't you go do like so and so? And I took all those life lessons as I got older and started putting them together. And he was an awesome mentor and coach for me. I guess my next mentor would probably be, like I said, probably Coach Flowers. Just learning how the body works as far as developing the athlete. There was no better person that developed players on the high school level that I would say probably Charles Flowers in football and baseball. So I kind of applied that to all my sports that I coached. And I learned a lot as far as, developing the total athlete, probably from Charles Flowers.
Wow, that's so cool that you've got those career educators
Yes.
as part of your network. I think you look at those successful programs in any sport, successful with wins, successful with legacies, successful with tons and tons of kids. And somewhere you've got that coach, maybe it's a head coach, maybe it's an assistant coach that has been there 25, 30, maybe even 40 years. Really, really cool stories to share. Okay. Our guest is Albert Weeden Jr. He's a certified master athletic administrator, principal and athletic director at Loachapoka High, also on the Nomad board of directors. We're going to take another break. I know it's a big surprise, but we will be back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. At Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help elevate the performance of their athletes using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They've got online tools, they have smart cameras. There's always been analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle's also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high school and college programs. And even the pros use Huddle to help their athletes perform at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including the college coaches you're trying to get to recruit your kids. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Albert Weeden. He's the principal and the athletic director at Loachapoka High in Auburn, Alabama. Coach, one of the things we like to do with this podcast is the idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that y'all do at Loachapoka that when you take a step back, you can say with equal parts pride and humility, boy, we really do a good job with this. Do you have any best practices you can share?
Oh, yeah. I think here at Loachapoka High School, which I say we have the best high school in the state of Alabama. I'm very proud of that Poker Pride. I don't know if you can see it right there on the screen, but we take a lot of pride in everything we do here at Loachapoka High School. One of the things I think that we really are hands-on with our athletes. Sometimes in some cases, it's a high poverty area here in the community that we in. So we are very hands-on. We like to know everything about our kids, how the day is going, how things going on at home. We're very big on building relationships. Part of my, I guess, leadership model is PRC. We want to be able to build positive relationships with our students so they'll feel welcome, when they come in our buildings, when they participate in our sports. All throughout our school, they know they can go to any teacher, any coach, and because of that relationship we have. And sometimes we had to step back because students want us to step back. Hey, Mr. Weeden, you know everything about me. Of course, you're an athlete here, and we want to build that relationship with you to make you sure you feel like you're at home. Whenever you go home, you can talk to your family about what we're doing here at the school. It's a trickle-down effect. We use it to our advantage because we can talk to parents in the interpersonal type of way. When we see them at the game, it's never I guess, personal if something's good or bad, because we have that positive relationship where no matter what, we can spin it and make a bad thing a positive thing. So that's one of the things that we like to take pride in with all of our student athletes, is building a very, positive relationship with every student athlete, at the school, so they can feel at home no matter where they go. They can always remember that Polka pride. That's why we put it in our emblem and our crest on our seal, so they can remember, all right, what it was like to be a Polka student, what it was like to be a Polka athlete. That just personal relationships that they built throughout those 4 years. In my case, I'm 7 through 12, so I get them for 2 more years, so 6 years, and they can go back and build on that with their family and come back, and they can always remember that Polka pride. So one of the best practices that we are very, personal with our athletes and build very, close relationships with them. Some people might not see that as I guess, kind of a best practice, but with us, it's all about relationships. And especially as athletic directors, as coaches and teachers, you have to build that relationship to get the things you want out of your athletes, to get everything, out of them that you can, and for the betterment of them and also the betterment of the school.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Coaches and athletic directors, they're always talking about creating a culture or building a culture. And that's exactly what you're talking about, that it's not just a catchphrase. I mean, it's on your seal of your school. That's how important it is. And again, you've got a little bit of advantage here, having administration behind your back as the AD.
It's a
But
no-win situation, huh? Nah, it's a
yeah,
win-win for me.
exactly. No, but again, the point that you make, the relationships that you build with the kids, on the fields, in the hallways, in the
Yes,
classrooms, in the community. Okay. I love it. Polka pride.
yes, sir.
Um, I mentioned a couple of times that you're a member of Nomad.
Yes.
So we consider that a best practice too. I'm actually a member of Nomad too. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
on the board,
Mhm.
but share with our listeners who might not have heard, what
Okay.
is Nomad, and why should they get involved? Why should they know about it?
Okay, well, NOMAD is a national organization of minority athletic directors. It's an organization that's a grassroots organization, and it started, when COVID hit. We had a lot of unrest in our community, throughout the world, globally, and that's something our founding fathers started. We started with Zoom calls, like we're on a Zoom call here, and it's all about just building relationships with somebody from a different perspective. So no matter what walk of life you come from or what capacity you may be in, you can always share your ideas with Nomad. No matter what part of the country you're from, because we spread out through all over the country with Nomad members all the way to Hawaii. So we welcome anyone to join. We're inclusive. We're looking forward to another great conference, in our AAA in Nashville. Last year we was in Denver, and we had a great conference, and we had Dr. China Ju, who spoke about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This year, we're looking forward to Nashville again. Candace Story Lee, the athletic director at Vanderbilt University, coming to speak, to our NIAAA DEI committee, Nomad, global women of sports. So we're taking, all the minorities or anyone who feels comfortable coming and sharing and speaking with us, and sharing with us and joining Nomad. Like I said, we are very diverse, we're very inclusive, and we have a sense of belonging. No matter what, area you're in, we want you to belong, and we want you to feel like whatever you say matters. And we all are sharing all different ideas in different ways, to implement different things, especially when COVID hit once again. We was trying to get the back to school startup kit back, like what is this part of the country doing? Uh, Folks tease me all the time because we was in Alabama, and I'll say, man, we wide open over here. That was pretty much what I was saying. So we was getting best practices from every state, and to see what was working, what was not working. And that's kind of what we was doing. We're doing here now with Nomad. We're just, a grassroots organization. We're looking for anybody that feels like they're diverse or anyone who wants to join. We're very inclusive, in order to, share, what you're feeling and be honest and feel a sense of belonging.
No, absolutely. And again, I think I don't want to mess up the website. I think it's
Yeah,
nomadassociation.org.
the Nomad Association.
The Nomad Association. Thank you. Okay, I knew I'd screw it up. But the people in Nomad, they're you, they're me. Their
Yes.
leadership, though, is off the charts.
Yeah.
Great leaders, some giants in our profession. Check it out, get involved, support them. The nomadassociation.org. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to take another break, but we've got a lot more coming. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Gipper for their support. Go to Gipper.com and start creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device and without needing any design experience. As I like to say, it's so simple, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com and join athletic directors and coaches from across the country in creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator, Nomad board member, and he's the principal and the AD at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. Albert, one of the questions we've been asking our ADs has to do with this idea of toughness. And, I look back 100 years ago when I was in high school, our coaches would say things like, come on, Jake, you got to suck it up, or come on, Jake, you got to be tough. And we kind of knew what they meant. In the many years since then, I think we figured out much better ways to communicate to kids and get those ideas across. But for me, I still feel that toughness is an important aspect of sports and of life. So my question to you, how can we help kids develop toughness while also being sensitive to the very real challenges that a Generation Z kid experiences that I never had to experience? Do you have any advice for us?
Oh yeah. I deal with that all the time. Kids always, coaches saying, hey, we want tough kids, we want tough-minded kids, all different ways, to say toughness. But I give you a prime example. I tell the kids all the time, you think you're tough because you can bench press 200 pounds or something. So I go down there to the gym and show them. I say, all right, you go ahead and do the bench press. So somebody might do 225, 230. So I said, put the same thing on there for me. And they go in there and see me, rack 225, 235. Like, oh man, I said, does that mean I'm tough? Huh? No, it does not. So here at Loachapoka High School, toughness is all about your strength. I break it down to kids. I want you to be mentally tough. I want you to be mentally tough. So in that game, at the end of the game, you can execute that game plan. You want to be psychologically in the game. Some kids think, with toughness that you got to be big, strong, and run through screens. All those things, to me, are not the definition of toughness when you're dealing with athletics, especially if you're dealing with educational based athletics. We're trying to teach them all those things to do the right thing, be that bigger person, character, education. All those things are tough, Jake, in this life that we're living in right now, man. It's tough to do the right thing. It's tough to stand up for someone in a situation where they can be belittled or demeaned. Those are the type of tough people that I want around me, that's going to stand up behind that closed door when somebody's talking about you. That's tough for me. That's tough to do. It's a whole lot tougher than going down there and trying to, bench press 235 or run through a blocking dummy or something. You got to stand up in tough moments. And we try to tell our kids, hey, we want you to stand up in those tough moments, not physically be stronger than the next person. Of course, that's good for athletics, be strong, you can lift weights and all that. But sports are won by situations. Are you tough in that moment? Are you tough in that situation that you're putting yourself in? I was watching the Olympics. I guess night before last, I think the 4x400 meter team, women's team. And then one of the young ladies, I guess, couldn't run. That young lady that filled in, I think it was Abby Steiner, filled in for the Delilah Muhammad, if I'm not mistaken, to win that 4x400 world championship. Like, think about how tough it is to be sitting there all this time training, and now it's your moment. You're ready for it. Mentally, you're ready. It's not how strong you are. You're ready for that moment. It's a tough situation, and you endured that and end up helping us win the gold medal for the world championships. So it's not all about weights and being tough and running through people. It's about your mindset, and about character. The educational based athletic that we all, talk about. and preach about. So it's refreshing for me to see a kid being tough that way, in the hallways, somebody getting bullied or whatever the case may be, being tough. So, hey, you probably shouldn't say that, to so and so, or that's being tough for me, standing up to people, and being there for someone. That's really tough to do in our society now here in 2022.
Yeah, I just love that. I love your phrase, tough moments. It's not that one thing, that moment in the weight room. Okay. That's not what we're talking about. Very, very cool stuff. Okay. We didn't do this earlier, but we're going to do it again at the very end. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, find out more about Polka Pride and some of the things you're doing there, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Well, I always give out my direct cell phone number, and the best way is to call. I do a lot of texting, of course, but for me, I like to hear your voice. Reach out to me, 334-750-2071. That's 334-750-2071. You can call me anytime. That way we can talk, and then we can build that bridge of communication with texting and, Twitter and emailing. I like to hear from you first, to hear that passion, that you have for education.
I appreciate you giving that out. We'll do it again at the end of the podcast. Once again, our guest has been Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator, Principal and AD at Loachapoka High. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive. Our school was one of the first in Florida to have a Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table in our gym, and it was just fantastic. Of course, we use it for games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and it's a great way to raise funds through the sponsorships. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or send them an email at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo and see their tables and indoor video boards in action. You can also email them, like I said, at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. Find out exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. Welcome back, everyone. Our guest is Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator. Albert, you were sharing during the break that sportsmanship is very important. So share with our listeners some of the things that you guys do with sportsmanship in Alabama.
Well, sportsmanship is very important here in the state of Alabama. I want to put a plug in for our school. This is our third year in a row for winning the sportsmanship banner. The Alabama High School Athletic Association, anyone that does not get a fine or an ejection from the game, being a player or a coach, will be a winner of the Alabama High School Sportsmanship Award. And you get a banner, and every year you can put, the year that you won it on the banner. And this is our third year in a row, as winning that award. So we take it very seriously of the idea of, being a good sport. And we literally mean that, from coaches to players, even to the fans, of, showing good sportsmanship. So that's one thing I really would, we do well here in Alabama with our sportsmanship program. Even if a student did get ejected, they had to get online and did an NFHS sportsmanship course. And once they completed that course, the fine will be dropped down from $300 to $150 for that school. So it's a teaching tool for those kids or coaches who got ejected from a game, to go back and review, our strategic plan about sportsmanship. We want to be good sports in everything we do. So I really, want all states probably should move to that, of making sure that every student athlete and every coach, takes that sportsmanship course. And also, if they do get a fine or ejection, they should go back and review that course to remember what sportsmanship means. Everybody's watching you. And I'm very proud of our school, because this is 3 years in a row that we've won that sportsmanship award. And to put it all in perspective, only 57 schools won it out of 715 schools. So it's very hard to win the sportsmanship award every year without getting a fine or an ejection for your student athlete. So I really would like more, coaches and administrators to put an emphasis on sportsmanship, put those things in place about NFHS. The class is a free class, and you can take online through nfhs.org, the sportsmanship course, and implement those things in your school, and make sure that every kid takes it. Here, every kid has to take sportsmanship or they're ineligible. you're not eligible to compete until you completed that sportsmanship course. That's one of the 6, things that we have to do here through the Alabama High School Association in order for our kids to be eligible. And the sportsmanship is definitely front and center. And it's an honor to be invited at that summer conference like we just had last week on that Friday, to being able to be invited to that luncheon, to know that, hey, your coaches, you probably didn't win a state championship or win all the state championships, but you did win, that sportsmanship award, and you was invited to the Alabama High School luncheon, which means a lot to the school. It means a lot to the central office, the school board members, and to your community, that, hey, no matter what that school board says at the end of the day, we know that when you go to Loachapoka High School or they travel to a game, they're going to show great sportsmanship no matter win, lose, or draw. So, and that's educational based athletics to me, Jake.
Well, I love you sharing that. And it was something that I really stressed at our schools as well. It's one of those things, as you you focus on the things you can control. Okay. We can control our response to that bad call. We can control our response to an unsportsmanlike act from another player. And our schools did very well in the sportsmanship. We won a couple of state awards for that. And as you know, if you're doing those things, if you're focusing on those things you can control, hey, the wins also come your way more often than not. It makes you a better player, makes you a better team. It makes your coaches better. So great job.
It makes you a better program. You know what I mean? You have a program now.
Absolutely. And as you talk about that whole Poca pride, I just love that. That's great. Okay. Albert, this has been so cool visiting with you, getting to know you a little bit, making that fishing date
I can't wait,
for Orlando,
man.
But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with our athletic director toolbox segment. You've already shared, your way around the world of athletics, but when we come back from our break, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox.
Okay.
So we're going to take a quick break here from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor the toolbox segment. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Albert Weeden Jr. is going to put in his athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by LiveTrack for sponsoring the athletic director toolbox segment. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. We use surveys for everything at my schools, for coaches, for teachers, for parents, and for student athletes. And the information that comes back was almost always overwhelmingly positive. And it's going to be the same for you. But it's also going to give that squeaky wheel parent an opportunity to vent and maybe share a small issue that you can address and keep it from turning into a big issue that you didn't know about because you didn't do the survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or send them an email at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LiveTrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the interview. We've been visiting with Albert Weeden Jr., Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Principal and Athletic Director at Loachapoka High School in Auburn, Alabama. He's an experienced athletic director, no question about it. But right now I'm going to ask him to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 tools in the toolbox. Albert, what 3 items are going to go in your athletic director toolbox?
Well, hey, if you're a new athletic director, this is kind of way out base for you new ADs, but you have to come with some type of branding for yourself. And with me, when people know and see me, the first thing I talk about is my leadership model, and I call it PRC. The P stands for being professional. If you're a new athletic director, you have to be professional at all times because you don't know who's watching you. We all know we got the camera phones out. Everybody's trying to put you on TikTok and all these different videos. So you want to be professional when you're out there in that field at all times. And when you are out there in the field, you want to build some positive relationships. You have to build a relationship within your community. You have to build relationships, within your staff. You have to build a relationship with the students and the athletes that you're dealing with every day. So do not lose focus of that. So be professional, build some relationships. That's PRC leadership model. And the C, I can't sit here and just be talking. And as an athletic director, I got to be competent. I have to know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? At least look like I know what I'm talking about. So if you're a new AD, you got to build some competency about yourself. That means getting you some professional development. Go to conferences, get on podcasts, subscribe, listen to different speakers, read books, go to different athletic director conferences. You have to get some competency about yourself so you can relay that professional development down to your coaches, and all will make you look good. So be professional, build you some positive relationships, and be competent in in what you're doing. So help you with your toolbox.
Wow. Those are three great tools, and you kind of wrapped it all up into one idea. So I'm going to open up the toolbox. What else do you got for us? You got one or two more?
Sure. So ADs, make sure you're listening now. That PRC model is my model, but hey, you can use it however you want to fit, your philosophy. But another idea that you definitely need to have, in your toolbox per se, if you're going to be a strong athletic administrator, no matter what, you got to have a strong schedule. With me, you have to be flexible. I'm a principal and athletic director. Real quick, I can go through my schedule. This is very important for you ADs. I just did this, session last week. When you first wake up in the morning, that's your time. So you gotta have that. I get up at 5 o'clock, 5:30 every morning. So between that time and it's time to go to work, that's your time to reflect. You might want to go on a walk, you want to go on a jog, you want to exercise, you just want to get up and cook breakfast, make you some coffee. But you have to have that me time in order to be a successful AD. All right, I'll move on to the school day. From 6:30 to about 7:15 before school starts, I am touring my facility. I'm wearing two different hats. I'm touring the facility as a principal and as an athletic administrator. I want to see what's going on outside of my building, walking through the fields. I'm going, looking at practice fields. I'm looking in the gym. I'm walking through the facility. That's time for me to gather my thoughts for that day to see, all right, what needs to be done, as an athletic administrator. All right, school day getting ready to start. It's very important as that athletic administrator for you to greet your kids when they come in that door in the morning. 7:30 they come in that door to about 7:45 when school starts. You want to find out the pulse, the heartbeat of your school and your student athletes. You're going to know what happened last night by being at that front door and hearing what's going on. You know what I mean? So set you a schedule up, even through lunchtime. If you're an athletic administrator, lunchtime is very critical for you to go in, build a relationship with the teachers, students, and visit coaches to find out what's going on in and outside of school. You know what I mean? So set you a good schedule so it correlates to what you're trying to do at the school, which will save you a lot of time in the evening time. So you'll be ahead of things going on.
Boy, those I don't know if you noticed, I was writing all those things down in my spreadsheet. Great ideas. And it kind of carries with the theme I think you shared, those relationships with students, being present. Great stuff.
They need to know that you are with them all the way, man. They need to know you're gonna be in the hallways, you're visible, and they know that's part of the job, the relationships.
And when you do those things, whether it's your kids, your coaches, for you as principal, the teachers, they're going to do great things for you too. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks so much for sharing today. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out a little bit more about how y'all do things at Loachapoka or just anything else to pick your brain about, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Once again, the best way to reach me is by cell phone. I'm happy to get my number out to everyone. It's 334 area code 750-2071. That's 334-750-2071. I would love to hear from you. Give me a call. Of course, I'm on social media. My school is Loachapoka AD. So that's my Twitter handle, Loachapoka AD, like you see it here on the screen, Loachapoka, and then an AD at the end. You can reach me on Twitter, but definitely call me so we can connect, and I can give you all my emails and social media credentials. Looking forward to hearing from some of the listeners out there.
All right. Well, again, thanks so much for sharing, and all the best with the coming school year, which is just around the corner.
Hey, August 8th, we start school. Our coaches start practicing next week. So, hey, thanks you, Jake, for having me on the educational podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing this played over and over again on the internet so I can see. And I'm going to hold you to that fishing trip come next December, man, down there in Orlando.
Absolutely. You bring the fishing stuff. I'll provide the boat and the food and the beverages. How's that? Okay.
Sound like we're playing, as long as we're catching them.
There you go. For our listeners, the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next time for more best practices on the Educational AD Podcast. And before we go, we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen consoles and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. You can also email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let them help you bring your school's legacy to life. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Come back just about every day for new content. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.